Welcome to Happy Homework. My name is Meryl, and today I'm here in this funky ass lighting to talk to you about what I want to do and about what my goals are. And my goal is, and what I feel like I am doing for myself, and what feels important to have a conversation about. So I was trying to narrow down what I wanted my focus of this channel to be and what I wanted to create. And because I've had lots of false starts, I am good at lots of things. One of the things I'm best at is meeting people where they are. And anything I've tried to create in the past, as far as what feels authentic to me being of service to people, or to humanity, or to society, or whatever, to others, has felt limiting. And that's why I was kind of excited when the idea for this channel came to me, because it can be anything. Like the happy homework thing, like things that we're in the middle of working on to like put us more in tune with what our internal energy signature vibration, like what feels good to us, to like allow that to ripple out into your life so that your life feels like that. So that you're not in this constant cycle of battle and then retreat and gather yourself back together and then battle and then retreat. Like your life is meant to reflect how you want to feel and how you want to walk through it. And that, in my estimation anyhow, is 1000% easier said than done. And it's an ongoing process of creation. It's an ongoing process of letting go and breaking things down and letting things fall away. And it's cyclical and it's natural, and it's something that we don't get the tools for. I mean, you have your internal GPS, which is how you feel at all times. So as far as that whole like, oh, I'll worry about that later, or like, oh, that doesn't really matter, like whatever. I mean, you're in constant conversation with the universe, constant conversation. And the mitigating factor of like what you're dealing with is how it makes you feel. And you don't have to be a shaman to feel. You don't have to be an astrologer or a therapist or someone who journals every day or whatever to be able to feel. You just have to be a human being. That's what separates us from, I don't even know what. I don't know. I kind of think everything feels on like its own whatever. That doesn't matter. That's a footnote for like a different time. But you're always feeling and you're always processing and you're always reacting to what's going on around you and within you and without you, right? And so the goal is to create something, to create this life that feels overwhelmingly authentic and that feels really good. And so that idea of happy homework is things that get you closer to that. Because you can think that you can come home and be like, I'm not happy. You can wake up one day after feeling fine. You can be in a job, in a relationship, in a lifestyle, in a city. It doesn't matter. Because with the energy shifting and everything and making people more sensitive and lifting up everyone's vibration, we're just more inclined to notice. So you could have been in a relationship for years and you just wake up one day and you're like, this doesn't feel good. This doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel good. I don't want to do this anymore. This did feel really right. And there are so many steps between that moment of going, hang on, I hate this. Hang on, I don't like this. Hang on, this feels like prison to me, even though it looks fine on the outside. Hang on, I don't care for this. Or even just hang on, this could be so much better. This could be so much more rewarding. This could feel better to me. There are so many steps between that moment and then living a life that feels really good to you that I don't believe socially we're given the tools for. I believe that socially we aren't given these tools because we currently, and it's shifting and moving and morphine and whatever, but we're currently living in a society that profits from us feeling shitty. And as long as things are structured that way in these external structures, it's up to us to make these little decisions and pivot in these small ways and create a life that feels different. because nothing that's profiting off of you feeling like shit, nothing that's making money off of you feeling ugly or fat or less than or sad or any of that is going to help you shift out of that. That is like wholly an inside job, a thing you have to take control of, because it's just not going to help. And there are these things that are supposed to help you and that are supposed to do a good job and that genuinely could shift you a little bit closer and shift you more like on the track towards living a more authentic life. But for the most part, that has to be something that you have to do, because no one else can tell you how you feel, if that makes sense, right? You can offer up lots of different like suggestions and all of that, but it's going to be something that I believe needs its own certain toolkit to figure out. And that there's a bunch of different ways that you can go about it. And I believe strongly in helping people get there, helping people get closer, helping people dismantle the stuff that keeps you stuck and trapped. Because you can wake up next to someone and be like, I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. You can leave them the very next day, pack all your shit, get out of there. And until you figure out what brought you to that to begin with, and there's a million different ways to figure it out. There's a million different ways to interpret it once you do, like whether you believe in, like subscribe to the belief of like karma, whether you, like there's a ton of different stuff. But for the most part, it's in your human patterning. And a lot of it, for a lot of us, especially right now, especially in 2019, especially as we move through all of these like astrological transits, a lot of it is stuff like learning the difference between love and attachment. A lot of it is stuff like you're playing out stuff that has hurt you really badly from when you were growing up, or an old pattern that you keep repeating, because you can leave that person and all you're going to be doing is 6 months later dating a different person with the same face. And what I mean by that is like a different actual person that still wears like that mask of that trauma or whatever you're putting on them that drew you to it to begin with. Because until you develop the skills to get yourself out of that situation, to expand your awareness to a place where you don't need that anymore, you're just going to keep Groundhog Daying it up, and it doesn't feel very good. And I know because I did it, and I know people that have done it, and lots of people do it, not just with relationships, with jobs, with everything. And I sort of believe that we all hold these like sort of primal wounds that draw you to all sorts of situations. Like, I don't think it has to be just relationships, or just, I think that if you are struggling with things like innate things like worthiness, or feeling like you're not good enough, or feeling like what you want's not possible, or feeling like you're so out of touch with who you are and what you need, they'll reach for anything that fills that void in the meantime. And all of these are just normal human things, but they're things that we don't want to talk about, and they're things that we, like if you walked into a random office building and started talking about that, people would just be like, ugh, whatever. Like, sure, I bet, I'm sure. But every single person I've ever like genuinely sat down and talked to, even every single person that would blow it off if you were talking about it in mass, is having these same like innately human struggles and are dealing with it as though they're alone. And we're not alone. That's the best part. We're not alone. It's not impossible. And there's all sorts of stuff that can help you, because even some of that stuff, like, it's helpful to learn about love versus attachment. It's helpful to learn about toxic family patterning and how to extricate yourself from it. But every single thing at the like core of it, the whole point of it, is to take your energy back from something that doesn't feel like you and return you to stuff that does feel like you. That's the whole point of every single one of those things. The thing is, though, when we're sensitive or empathic, you literally are in this space where you don't know where you end and someone else begins. And so that's where those like very 3D ways of like parsing through what's actually going on in your experience can help you take back those bits of yourself, so you can start to recognize if something reflects a vibration that feels like you or it doesn't. Because all you're going to do is think that you feel like trauma and you feel like wounding when you don't. And so you're going to be attracted to things that feel like that because that's what feels like home for you, because you don't know that that's what's making you miserable, if that makes sense. It's something you've resonated with and taken into you so deeply that it started to feel like you. And it doesn't have to. And that's just the best news ever. But again, there's so many steps in between. And that's the most important one, is going, wait a minute, this doesn't feel right. I need to continue to take back bits of myself, or figure out why I keep doing the same thing over and over again, or cultivate the space for myself to pause long enough to not be caught up in this trauma response to where I'm just holding my own space in my own energy and can have the wherewithal to choose things on purpose. And once you're choosing things on purpose, even if they're the wrong things, who cares? Even if they're the things that don't end up feeling right but did for a second, who cares? The difference between just innately having that knee-jerk response to anything and choosing it is a world of difference. It's a huge difference. It's a major difference. It's a powerful difference. And that's all I want at the end of the day, is to provide any type of little way that you can get those powerful moments back to yourself. And I think that's what's making people so unhappy, is because we feel like that power lies without us, outside of us, and not within us. And I don't believe that. And every time I've ever worked with anybody, that's just not what we find. That's just not what we find. And it's so exciting, but it's also so daunting. And I remember at so many different points of having this very exhilarating feeling of feeling that connection to whatever it is for you, whether it's nature or source energy or God, or even to the people around you, or any of that. You feel that connectedness and you feel the difference from the disconnection. And you go, okay, perfect, this is what I want. And then you feel that gaping space of, well, but now what? Or why does this not feel like that? Or this should feel like that and it doesn't feel like that. Why doesn't it? What's wrong with me that it doesn't feel like that? And it's those traps that keep you stuck, and you don't have to be stuck. Because I want to be a missionary for your personal freedom. I don't want to be an advocate for your personal freedom. I want to teach you to advocate for your own personal freedom. And I want to collectively, as a little group, family, whatever, I want to explore different ways where we feel like we're stuck, and explore different ways where we are just reacting to this external stimuli in ways that we're conditioned to, that we didn't even realize that we were. Because that's the thing about that conditioning, is it's so insidious. But so many people, because of how quickly the Schumann resonance is rising all the time, and how many of these intense solar downloads, people who wouldn't even describe themselves as sensitive are getting, and then are all of a sudden really, really noticing things. And noticing things in how they're feeling, because that's all this is. You don't have to be psychic to have feelings. And anybody that thinks they're separate from this big shift, this big human shift, just isn't. Just not. We're all humans. It's the type of thing. Maybe you drove 16 hours to Thanksgiving, and you've done that every year for the last 20 years. And all of a sudden this year you go to do it and you have this pit in your stomach. You're like, why do we do this? What are we doing? What is it about this? What is going on with me? And you may go and you may have a horrible time. You may go and feel like you are having Thanksgiving with strangers and you don't understand what's happened to your life. And this whole process, this idea of having happiness homework, stuff that we can look at and examine and use to connect us to our own energy, is to me going to be extremely powerful, is to me going to be the thing that makes the difference. And if anything, it's going to be a worthwhile way to spend time you could be freaking out about not knowing what's going on. because it's 2019. We're all going through all sorts of shifts, all sorts of changes, all sorts of things being up in the air, all sorts of times where you can maybe only see the step right in front of you and that's it. And that's even for some of the people I know that are like the most logical, wouldn't describe themselves as like spirit-led people, are still like, look, this is where we are. This is what I'm doing. I'm just going to keep doing my best at this. Because a big shift that I've noticed, and I sort of just want to leave it at this, but I'm not sure. Just take a minute. Oh, I might do one more thing. Okay. But a lot of people are in these lives that they've created. And they're wonderful lives and beautiful lives and lives other people would be envious of. But they're lives that they've created based on their inherent ability to respond to trauma. I know that sounds very vague, so I'm going to try to think of a way to explain it to give you exactly what I mean. But basically, trauma is passed down generationally through people that don't have the tools to deal with things that they're going through, that don't have the emotional tools to deal with it. And so someone who goes through something hard and doesn't have the emotional tools to deal with it passes that on to their children, their children, their children. Everybody does a slightly different job, slightly better job. But if you don't have the tools, you don't have the tools, and that's it. That's just how it happens. And so a lot of people, the things that they find out that they're good at, especially if they're sensitive people, for example, being overly accommodating. So like a lot of things, and not everybody, but a lot of people who do things that are hospitality related or maybe something like that, where you're responding to difficult people, or you're so good, like, oh, she's so good at just taking on so much stuff and she just never complains about it. She'll just work 18-hour days and like all this, that, and the other, whatever. And all these things are really valuable, but we have a lot of people that are sort of in the wrong, because there are some people that do those types of jobs, those service-oriented jobs, that is like exactly what they're put on earth to do. That's what they're wired to do. And when they do it, they feel full and fulfilled, and it's perfect, and it's their purpose, right? But some people are drawn towards things like that, or maybe pushed into other things like that, pushed into medicine, pushed into law, whatever, because it's what they were groomed for in a weird way. So the dysfunction that they were put through turned them into this like very powerful robot able to do all of these different things and all of these different jobs to a T and do really well at it, but it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel like them. Because if you're doing all those same jobs from a space of wholeness and creation and where it really vibrates with like what's in your heart, it's going to feel like the right thing. But if you're feeling shitty and burnt out and you're doing a really good job and you keep getting promotions and raises and everyone's so proud of you and you're doing great and it's wonderful, but you feel so empty and disconnected and shitty, and it's probably not coming from this place. Because the thing is, if you're doing it from that other place and it feels great, you're not even watching this video. But if it feels the other way, well, it's okay. But it means that you've reached a time where you're ready to pivot. You're ready to create from a place that feels like you. And it might be something that you never thought about before. It might be something you've secretly wanted to do for forever. But you know that you're ready to take your life and do it on purpose. And as cheesy as that sounds, that's the simplest way I can think of putting it. Where every single thing in your life is something that you picked. It's something that you said yes to with not just your energy or your brain or whatever. It's something you said yes to with your heart and your soul and your whole body, in your brain and your energy. And it feels like you. And everything, you pause and you look around and everything feels like you. And your job feels like you're creating and you have energy and you feel connection. And that's what we came to Earth to do, to experience the peaks and the valleys and all of it. And do it and live it and have it feel really good. And you've tried the one way that doesn't feel great. That's fine. It doesn't feel great. But if you're ready to try another way, let's do some happy homework. I love you guys lots. I'll have more updates soon, hopefully. I'm in the middle of some stuff. And I'll talk to you soon and be back with a new video shortly. Love you lots. Have a great day.